Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Leo energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Leo energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Leo energy. We all have our free will and we kind of have to battle within ourselves to make decisions in our life. And some people could be battling within themselves. They might want to move forward in life differently, is what the top row can talk about. But the bottom row can kind of represent our comfort zone. And we all like to stay in our comfort zone because we know how to operate there and we're kind of comfortable, right? And so some people could be battling within themselves. But while some people could still be battling within themselves, other people have made their choices. And there's some people that are moving forward in life differently than they were moving forward before. In high vibe energy, the truth sets us free. Kind of had to learn or grow or mature or have more hope and faith and belief in ourselves. Kind of look at life differently, take on kind of a new perspective or something. And when some people move forward, some other people don't. And that's kind of, more when we can have some issues in our relationships. Most of the time in our life with most people, it doesn't really matter. It's like, oh, I think I'm going to go do this. And people are like, hey, you go. Am I going to go do that? No. And it doesn't matter. We know everybody is making their decisions in their life and living their life the way they want it. And that's fine. It's just kind of can be more confusing and hurtful. And probably the reason people come to tarot is because we could have maybe a long-term friendship or relationship that we thought we were going to move forward with in some way, or that they were going to be in our life forever. And then there's seems to be a problem, and sometimes we don't understand why. So, Leo energy in high vibe is kind of where you're willing to deal with the truth. You are aligned with your more hopeful, believing, loving nature. You want to free yourself from things that manipulate you. You don't like more of your ego or to indulge yourself in your more immature nature because you like to feel proud of yourself, that you kind of act with some character and integrity, not like you always did. Life is about learning lessons. But, sometimes we've learned some lessons that I don't want to do that anymore, or act like that, or live my life like that. And again, most people in our life, we already kind of know who lives their life what way or whatever. And we kind of, hey, you do you. And we just live different lives. But sometimes we can be surprised when someone we thought did kind of view life the way we did and kind of was on the same page, and then we kind of find out they're not. And it can kind of maybe make us wonder if people were being truthful and authentic. And, shadowy energy can be, the truth is some people aren't who they say they are. They are kind of people who wear a false mask, and they present themselves as like just or fair or stable or grounded or loving people, but it's really not the truth of who they are. So, anyway, that's kind of what we're going to talk about. We all tap into Leo energy. So let's tell the story, and you can see where you might fit in and how you harness your Leo energy. Shadowy Leo energy is more operating from your defensive nature, your egoic nature, maybe manipulative nature, have a lot of inner conflict or things that you choose not to deal with and you just choose to ignore and hope that things will work out the way you want. Or just more caught up in the world or something like that. So the reason the bottom row, it's indulging in the devil, and the devil can represent the world, and indulging our more immature, shadowy, prideful, lazy nature, right? The top row is represented by the chariot, which is kind of getting in the driver's seat of your life from a place of love, to realize if I keep indulging my more immature nature or other people in immature energy, it's kind of going to drive my life off into the ditch. And high vibe energy is about being balanced, so you kind of stay between the bumper guards of life and you don't drive your life off into the ditch, because we all have driven our life off into the ditch, metaphorically, because we have lessons to learn and we kind of go off in the to the edge of life and different things. Oh my God, I let my heart run my life, and then I let my defensive nature run my life, and then my immature nature, and then I got caught up in all these things of the world, good or bad, and that kind of took priority in my life, and other aspects of my life could have kind of gone in the toilet. And it's kind of learning all these lessons, and we kind of learn them gradually. We kind of, the lessons can get bigger and bigger, because in tarot we have the pages, then we have the knights, then we have the kings and the queens, then we have the emperor and the empress, and then we have the high priestess and the hierophant. So when we're kids, we kind of learn some lessons, but maybe to a degree we can't get as much trouble as we can a little later in life. And then as knights, maybe younger ages, a young adult, we're going out in the world and we're not as young as we were. And then we kind of have new life experiences that we got to learn to grapple with and learn lessons in. And then as the kings and queens, hopefully we've matured some, but we still can be tempted in our more worldly nature of lust and greed and pride and ego, being egotistical, being self-centered, getting caught up in things that we want to indulge in that we think are the answer to our problems. And that can drive our life kind of in the ditch. And, it's all about learning these lessons. So, also, we can just make our life more about the world, kind of being tipped out of balance, where we're so much more kind of about focus on those things of the world, the status, the ego, the image, the stability, the security, the family, all these things that we want to manifest, that sometimes we kind of just don't even realize that slowly our life is kind of drifting off in the ditch because we didn't maintain balance. And the Chariot talks about, from a place of love, you within yourself, other people in your life, them within themselves, where we maintain balance. We all have this dualistic nature within ourselves, our more shadowy me nature, and our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And we have to be aware of that and realize it is something for us to manage. My understanding, it's the emperor who kind of gets in the driver's seat, and the emperor would be ourself, where we have learned these lessons in life to hold on to the reins of our dualistic nature. That I have to be aware that if I do not acknowledge the fact that I have a dualistic nature, and I have to be a good manager of my life, and if I kind of indulge too much in one way or the other, or indulging poor behavior in myself or others, it kind of throws my life out of balance, and I can offer love and encouragement to other people for them to try to maintain balance in their life. The best way for me to help other people maintain balance within themselves is for me to maintain balance within myself. Other people can do things and I could let it tip me out of balance, get me in my ego, get me angry, get me in my fear, get me in my lust or greed, right? And there's always going to be temptation in the world, and there's always going to be unjust, unfair, selfish, greedy, bossy, controlling, immature people in the world. High vibe energy is being a good leader in the world from a place of love. Now, this is also the reason why the Top Row People's reading has come out. And some people can harness this energy in a more shadowy way, where they present themselves. The Chariot is Cancer energy. Anybody in how they harness their Cancer energy. Some people really are authentically, emotionally balanced, loving, high vibe Leo, loving and encouraging people, inspired by love. But some other people operate a little more from shadowy Leo, shadowy Cancer, and it's more to present themselves like a loving person. And the Chariot can also talk about looking victorious, and of course, Leo energy can look about shining bright in the world. You know, as we get older and we learn these lessons in life, kind of the subtle differences between people, it gets more subtle, and we have to get more connected in. I think we were given the gift of intuition to help us navigate in this world, just like bats have sonar to navigate in the dark. People can present themselves in the world any way they want to, but what is the truth of how they really think and feel? And some people are very much about wanting to indulge themselves in relationships, but they know if people knew I just really like to more indulge myself in a relationship, people wouldn't get in a relationship with them. Or I'm really more in love with the world and ego and image and money and materialism, and that's why I want this job or to be in this friendship or relationship. People wouldn't get in friendships or relationships or hire them for a job. Like, I just want the money, you know? So people learn to cover up their more shadowy nature, and they could think that's just and fair because they could think that's what everyone else in the world does. Doesn't everybody just hide the fact that they're a more immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, self-centered person? Isn't everybody wearing a false mask so other people will like them or be their friend or date them? No. Some people actually learn lessons in life and they got out of their more immature, bossy, controlling, prideful, egotistical, self-centered ways of being. But some people didn't. And because they didn't, they just think that's what everybody's doing in the world. They have not been illuminated to the truth. And some of those people wear a very good false mask. And they present themselves as these emotionally balanced, loving family people. You should be their friend. You should work for them. You should date them. You should marry them. And then as time goes by with some of those people in your life, you realize it's all kind of more about what they can get out of it. The devil wants to control us, to manipulate us, doesn't want to give birth to anything new unless it benefits them. Devil wants to seem like they're God in your life. Kind of controlling, manipulative, and oppressive, and restrictive, and oppressive, and imprisoning. Love wants people to grow and mature to their full potential and give birth to new things. So, you've probably known some people who are like that in your life, and to some degree or another, they could have just been immature and self-indulgent. But you kind of realized your dream wasn't going to come into reality with them, with the star card in reverse. The star card is Aquarius energy. We have a dream we want to bring into reality. The devil can represent that we were attracted to some people. And we all can be tempted. The devil can represent the world. We all can have these things of the world that we want to go indulge in. But we could realize if I indulge in those things, or I keep aligning with those people, or that way of thinking, or that way of viewing life, or indulging immature behavior in myself or others, my dream isn't going to come into reality. So at one time, I could have been more caught up in the world. There could have been things in the world that I like to indulge in and make my life about and make more important in my life. And I could have been more tipped out of balance. But at one time, probably for the first 30, 40 years of our life, we're pretty caught up in the world and all these things we want to indulge in and manifest that we think are living the dream. And then we can go do those things. And there can be a lot of things we do like about it. But we could kind of feel like our life is kind of out of balance. Like we've made those things too important. And we kind of maybe like to move forward in life differently. And then sometimes when we want to move forward in life differently, there can be other people in our life. The King of Swords represents it's Libra energy and kind of what we think is just and fair, they could still think that's just and fair. And, just like we did when we were living life that way. Whether we were age 18, 21, or 25, we all lived our life a certain way. And then when we're 35 and 45 and 55, we're living life a certain way, and we're hanging out with other people who are living life a certain way and viewing life a certain way. But we could just, in our fire sign energy of the Leo sun, kind of get inspired to look at life from a different perspective, is what Aquarius energy is. We kind of looked at life and we made these certain things important. And then, I don't know, we just kind of get inspired to maybe adhere to a higher truth and justice, that there's more to the world than me or the world or the ego or the image. It kind of seems kind of indulgent, or can even feel kind of like it's lacking a higher purpose. So some people could get more balance within themselves, and they do get inspired to maybe free themselves from this more worldly view of life, or some ways of living life, or habits, or indulgences, or something like that. Because the Three of Pentacles is Capricorn, and so is the Devil. So we have our more worldly nature, but when we kind of just get inspired by a dream over and above that, what it kind of makes me think of a lot of times when these come up in the readings is that, we could have went and gotten a job but it wasn't really maybe what we loved, or we could have liked it, maybe even loved it. But when is enough enough? And then we're kind of thinking, I'd really rather go do something else. This can seem like, yeah, it's more about the ego and the image, but kind of when is enough enough? Maybe I'd like to go do volunteer work. Maybe I'd like to take a job that doesn't require so much work and effort. And maybe that job did. And now I'd like to, if it's reading books to kids in school or at the nursing home, or, just something where I feel like I'm helping other people maybe in a different way, or just quit. If I feel like I've just been indulging or been more codependent, I don't want to be more codependent. I want to really stand up more for what I believe in. And I do have my own dreams and my own to want to really be more authentically myself, where maybe before, the devil can represent so many things. We could have just had fear, and it's a process of becoming in the Leo sun energy to, we got to go learn all these lessons to even get clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't. And then when we kind of have had enough life experience, it's kind of like, I really think I am kind of clear about what my truth is and my truth isn't. The Nine of Cups is Pisces energy, and that can be where we're kind of caught up in the illusion that I have to look a certain way, or I have to act a certain way, or, all these things, because as human beings, we do want, in the Three of Pentacles, to have community in our life, right? And have people that we work together with. But sometimes we get so wanting those things that it's kind of not even just kind of feeling like we can be our more authentic self. And then we kind of work through all the emotional confusion of it. And it's like, you know what? People really, I can only do so much in the world, right? And do I really want to try to figure out what would make people like me? Like, oh, would I have to bring you cookies every day? Do you want me to flatter you every day? Do you want me to, and that's how some people live their life, is always trying to figure that shit out, right? And other people finally come to the conclusion, the highest energy and way of being and most authentic way of being is I want to work through some of my own fears and insecurities about just being more authentically myself. And I'm going to shadowy energy, like the devil, can be about trying to control and manipulate people. We can get caught up in the illusion that we can kind of control and manipulate people, but that is kind of being caught up in the illusion, because people are probably going to judge other people and view other people based on where they're at somewhere in this viewpoint of life, right? And it's like, why don't I go out there in the world and maintain balance within myself, be just and fair, treat other people the way I want to be treated, be authentic and warm and loving and encouraging and authentic, not ulterior purposes, shine my authentic light. I'm just a fallible human being. I'm at whatever stage of life I'm at, and to work to get along with people so that we can move forward together in a balanced way that's just and fair and authentic and loving. And I'm willing to work cooperatively with you if you're willing to work cooperatively with me. And it's kind of being in the highest vibration of all. Who wants to work together with me in that energy? And it's giving other people, which they really always did have, but we being caught up in the world kind of thought, oh no, I can control this or manipulate this. I'm going to let them have their free will to decide how they want to live their life. Are they open to that? And the people in your life who are open to that are the people who are like, oh, so you're not trying to manipulate me or control me. You're not trying to intimidate me. If I maintain balance within myself and I don't get in my petty energy or competitive energy or jealous energy or my lack mentality or whatever, we could just get along and work together. Yep. But people can really have a problem with that. Because for one, they do have to kind of maintain balance within themselves. Because if they are used to people indulging them, they're probably going to be kind of defensive to being more authentic and working with you more cooperatively in an emotionally balanced way, because they're used to kind of being indulged in a relationship or being able to manipulate and control people. So they would harness a more shadowy Cancer, Leo, and Capricorn, and Cancer and Pisces energy. Well, you can try to work together with those people, treat those people a certain, in a just and fair and authentic and loving way, and they're going to kind of be defensive to you. Because for one thing, they're just not going to like that you seem to be more authentic. And I kind of view the King of Swords that anybody can harness, where they kind of operate more from their self-protective, defensive nature. Or they are just kind of a bossy, controlling person. And might not be connected as much in their intuition, but they could want people to indulge them in the world and want to be in relationship with them. And then they can kind of be defensive that, well, I kind of get the feeling that you don't try to tempt people more in their lust or their greed or their pride or their ego or their fear or their insecurities, or try to manipulate them. I don't like that, because you kind of illuminate that you don't do that, which kind of illuminates to me that I do that, and I'd really kind of like you to go away. And then I can live in my self-denial. That's kind of the shadowy energy. I don't want to see the truth. I like to view myself as this just and fair and stable and grounded and emotionally balanced, loving family person or whatever in the world. But when I'm around people who really are more authentic, more emotionally balanced, aren't trying to manipulate and control people or tempt them more in their lust or their greed, and you don't let me do that to you, well, it kind of illuminates that I do that. And I don't like that. So then they kind of don't want people like that around. And then if you have people in your life that you had been kind of indulging, of course, they thought that was just and fair. Libra, scales of justice, can be about people thinking something is just and fair. They don't have to be a Libra sun sign. Everybody has their way of viewing life, and what they think is just and fair. And so they cannot like it because they want you to go back to being the person that you were before you were illuminated to the truth, and you put in this work and effort in your Capricorn energy to free yourself from things that used to manipulate you, past pain, heartbreak, fear, insecurity, ways of viewing life that you thought were just and fair. And now, from a place of love, you're more emotionally balanced within yourself. And you want to move forward in a more just and fair and authentic, working more cooperatively together from love. And they could have liked it when you didn't believe in your dreams, because they could have been hiding in the bottom row. We have the Hermit, the Hangman, the King of Pentacles, the Death card, the Two of Swords, the Ten of Swords, not showing itself, the Queen of Wands, the Ace of Swords, the Three of Wands, and the World card. Sometimes we get in more mismatched relationships, and people can, and everybody can get in relationships maybe because some other dream didn't come into reality, right? And we would like to have these new beginnings and work together with people and hope that it'll all work out. And with some of the people in our life, it does, because we all have learned lessons from that life experience. We kind of work through some issues within ourselves about why that didn't work. We were willing to see the truth within ourselves, how we needed to heal and grow and mature ourselves maybe, or get out of more codependent energy or something. And we also could have seen the truth about some of the people that we had been in relationship with. And the high vibe people didn't want to repeat that pattern. So they were still not willing to give up their dreams. They just let go of people in their life who the dream didn't come into reality with, or they saw the dream couldn't come into reality with. And they still have hope and faith and belief in love. But, there's always more lessons to learn. It's kind of like, when you could have been younger, you could have definitely dated people or hung out with some people that even your own intuition was screaming at you that you should not be doing this. This is not good. we're being really reckless and immature, and oh my gosh, Well, so that was maybe when we were pages and knights, right? And then as we become like kings and queens and we get older and we have more life experience, it's kind of like the game of life you kind of equate to a video game where you have to overcome certain obstacles at a certain level of life to authentically move to the next level of life. And you have no interest really in going back to that old level of life. But new levels, new devils. And there's always going to be, just like as we keep growing up, we knew people when we were 15 that were kind of shadowy and immature or really wild and crazy. And when we were 18 and when we were 25 and 35 and 45, it can just, with some people, it gets more and more subtle. But there's always going to be kind of more shadowy people at every phase of our life. It's just that people learn how to couch it better or hide it better. But they could be petty and snarky and jealous and envious and hurtful and unkind and egotistical and manipulative and all that shit. It's like a more subtle, refined game of life. And hopefully, if we keep listening to our intuition, and when we see that someone is behaving poorly, we call it out. But we had to go through all these life experiences to even be willing to stand up for ourselves. Do I think you have to call out people? No, because I kind of, to a degree, I think it's pointless. Do we really want to get in a drawn out argument with someone who has shown us they're petty, immature, lazy, prideful, egotistical, manipulative? They're going to deny it the whole time. It'd be like talking to a brick wall. Why bother? We can just tell people I don't think this is just and fair. You know, if they want to say, you're right, I was acting kind of, we've all kind of been there where other people have kind of called us probably on stuff during our life. We know, depending on who it was, and if it was someone like a parent to a child, we definitely denied it and defended our more immature ways of being. But hopefully, if it was someone that we were more in a relationship and that, hopefully if it was just a lapse of judgment, it kind of depends. If you were trying to kind of more get away with something, the more you kind of might be more stubborn and prideful and argumentative about it. If it was kind of a lapse of judgment, I think people would be like, yeah, I should have acted like that. That was unjust. That was unfair, and you're less defensive about it, right? Anyway, though, we can get in some more mismatched relationships. So some people were more shadowy, and in their Leo energy, they are more aligned with being more either defensive or can be more about ego and image in the world. So a little bit more superficial and shallow. That's why they want to do things or be in relationships or have certain jobs or go into certain career fields or relationships. Or just to even just, it's just more about them, There's a whole big spectrum. But some people could have been hiding, is what the hermit talks about in shadow. That, well, they could have been still stuck on someone in the past, right? And we've all probably gotten, the younger we were, the more we could have gotten, we want to feel better. We're hurt. A dream didn't come into reality. We think we have a good idea. We're going to go get in a new relationship with someone else. Well, if we're still going into it with the intention that I don't want to take advantage of someone, I don't want to manipulate someone, could I kind of part of the reason I'm getting into it is because I'm hurt and I'm sad and I want to feel better. But again, so much of it is the intention of what we had when we went into it. That I might get into it, but if I'm going to keep moving forward in it, I'm making that decision that I am going to put, that this, whatever was in the past is over, right? But some other people haven't, and they could be hiding. They're still stuck on someone that they wanted to be in a relationship with. And if it's not that, it could be that they're still, they know they're getting in a more mismatched relationship. They know they're getting in a relationship with someone who they know is more motivated and inspired, having hope and faith and belief and love. And for those of you who are that kind of person, which is probably most of the people who watch tarot, it's kind of really hard to imagine that there's other people in the world that that's not what they want to do. They don't want like a deep, meaningful relationship. It's like, I will get in the relationship. This seems practical and logical. This is good for my ego and image. You're loving and nurturing and supportive. I'll move forward with you. But they always stay in that self-protective nature or that more immature, indulgent view of relationships. And they could, be hiding that in their free will, the truth is they could align with just their more worldly view of life. And that is kind of more, a world of duality with free will in your Gemini nature, which is the Ten of Swords. The 8 and the 9 and the Ten of Swords is Gemini energy, and they weren't showing it. And the truth is, probably in a world of duality where we have free will to pick from this or this or this or this or this, for every person that's on this side, more aligned with their loving nature to some degree, needless at the end, we got like Jesus over there. The rest of us, more fallible human beings, are somewhere on the spectrum of tempering our learning lessons and being inspired by love and stuff. for every person on this side, there's equally someone on this side. And the thing is, we can meet people who wear very good false masks, where it could seem like it's like all these different people in the world, and some of the people in the world have traits and characteristics that are more aligned with our hopeful, believing, loving nature. Other people have more traits and characteristics that align with our more shadowy nature. And that's where we can have a really hard time getting out of a relationship with them, because the devil card looks just like the lover's card, except these people have chains and shackles around them. There's something a little more shadowy about it. It's either codependent, it's not wanting to see the truth, that it is kind of shadowy, like bossy, controlling, manipulative, that you do have different viewpoints, and truths. And then it can be hard to get out of it, because in a lot of ways, it has a lot of those things of the world that we want to manifest. But if we're not, we have to get out of our ego to deal with the truth that one person or the other, if it's a more mismatched relationship, if you're going to keep moving forward, either there's always going to be this conflict and tension in it, because you're trying to build foundations, one person more from truth and love and justice and fairness, and the other person, not really that. I might do some of that to make it keep moving forward, but the primary reason is something else. It's them, it's indulgence, it's ego, it's image. Maybe they're lazy and you put in a lot of work and effort. Maybe they don't know how to love themselves. You're a loving, nurturing person, but then you're not in a relationship with someone who's very loving and nurturing. And so they could just be hiding the truth that they do operate more from their worldly nature. And there also could be not stuck, because the Two of Swords can be, I mentioned that Gemini, our dualistic nature, is the 8, the 9, and the 10. In the 8, we could still kind of be going back and forth, and that's kind of what we're doing for the first 30 years, maybe 40 years of our life. Just even realizing that maybe there's going to come a time I've really got to pick a path. Some people have always been more motivated and inspired by love. Some people have always been more motivated and inspired by themselves and the world. And then there's the people who are like, I have these people I could hang out with, and I have those people I could hang out with. And I have that nature within myself, and I just can't decide yet which one is my truth. Some of these people were hiding, they're not stuck. They have definitely picked their path. And their path was shadowy Leo energy. I view the Queen of Wands as Leo. The truth is, they are more about themselves and the world. And they look more to the world, to work more with the world, which also then means in the Two of Swords can talk about listening to your intuition. They don't do that. Throughout their life, their intuition they have their high vibe nature. That is on the other side of the Gemini energy. That is on the other side of the sun. We cannot have hope and faith and belief in a higher truth or justice in this world and think we're the boss. And both the King of Swords and the Three of Wands is Aries energy can kind of be, which again, they don't have to be a Libra or an Aries. Anybody can harness those energies, where they kind of think, I don't think there is any higher truth or justice. It's about the world. The world tells us what we should make our life about. I don't think if I make my life about the world, and if I have a certain status, image, power, looks, money, social clout, I think I got it going on, man. And I might be able to think I can get away with a lot of things in the world. And I don't think there is any higher truth or justice to be held accountable too. I am, that's us indulging in our more egoic nature. There is no higher truth or justice. There maybe is no karma. So long as people don't know what I do, and if I do some shady shit, so long as I can try to confuse people about the truth and manipulate people and act a certain way and hold a certain status in the world and do these certain functions in the world so I look like a pillar of society, I can get away with this shit. And we've recently, over the last couple of years, probably as every year, have some examples in the newspapers about people who think they would never be held accountable for their actions. But we all have our more high vibe nature within ourselves. They have their high vibe nature. We've all been in more immature, shadowy nature. Virgo energy is about learning lessons in our life. We've all been in our more focused more on the world, and we've all not listened to our intuition. And how many times were we out in the world and doing things, and it was kind of like, if you were to think back on it, you could almost, there was a voice that was like in your head, it's like, you should not do this. This is not a good idea. You should go home. And you didn't, right? Well, probably didn't work out the way we wanted, right? And that was trying to illuminate us to the truth. I think we were given the gift of intuition, like I said, just like bats have sonar, to help us grow to our full potential, because high vibe energy, the big picture represented by God, wants to give birth to new things. And if we keep being immature and indulging ourselves, we're not going to be one of the people who kind of grows to our full potential and could give birth to something new in the world. And Virgo also talks about our own unique talents, skills, and gifts that we were given that could help illuminate the truth to the world just by being a good leader in the world, being a good human being, treating other people with kindness and respect and compassion, when sometimes some people don't have people like that in their life, and you're like a ray of light that there are some decent people in the world, right? If only that, So we've all been there, and we've all not listened to our intuition. It's just that most people don't keep refusing in their ego to keep staying in denial of the truth that, I'm kind of indulging myself. I'm being immature. I'm acting in ways that are shadowy. Didn't I used to have a dream of kind of growing up and maturing myself? The world also talks about learning lessons, closing out an old phase of my life. Detaching from some more immature ways of being, to face my fears, to let go of that old way of living life, or being more about myself, or egotistical, or self-centered, or think my shit don't stink. To adhere to a higher purpose than just being about myself. But sadly, there are some people, it is all about themselves, and we need to see the truth of it. If it is their way or the highway, they had a way of envisioning their life going and their dreams coming into reality, but they want to be in a relationship with other people. But, well, no, I don't really want to take your dreams and everything into reality, into consideration. I'm kind of just more about me and my wants and my needs and my lust and my greed and my pride and my ego. And if I might have these certain things of the world, the King of Pentacles, like I'm male or female, I might look a certain way, I might be attractive, I might have money, blah, blah, blah. King of Swords, I look like I have justice in the world. I have things of the world. Again, it could just even be people being attractive, and high vibe people can have all these things too. They can have status and image and social clout and be attractive and be charming, but they don't think that that gives them the right to be the indulged, privileged person in a relationship. But some people do. And so that is their philosophy of life. Well, I think because I have these certain traits, characteristics, or whatever, I really think it should be more about me. And if I have more of those things than you, and you want some of the things I have, well, I also want some of the things you have, but I think what I have is more important, more valuable, because mine are the things of the world. And what some of those people are going to have some hard lessons to learn that they haven't learned yet is love is what makes it all worthwhile. These would be people, if you were to tell them, you could work here and you'll have status or prestige and money. And it could be a hell, you know? There's manipulative, bossy, controlling, egomaniacs. Like, I don't care. I can have it and I can have the money. Yes. Okay. I will do it. Or you could work together with people, but you do have to put in work and effort to work with them cooperatively. Be encouraging, be supportive, be authentic, treat people the way you like to be treated. And you could have your dreams come into reality and you could really enjoy yourself. But you might not have where it's all about you, or you might not have all the status or the image or the power. High vibe energy is about both the King of Swords, scales of justice, and the Cancer energy of the Chariot talks about balance. And high vibe energy is about balance, and high vibe Virgo is about balance. Do I want some of these things in the world? Yes. But am I willing to give up love to have those things? Some people say yes, because love isn't very valuable to me. I don't even like to do love. I get hurt doing love. And those people might want me to connect in with my emotions, and I don't like to do that. And other people are like, no, I'm not willing to give that up. And then everybody has to find kind of their balance and find the right mix with people. If two people are quite career driven, well, there might be some things that emotionally they'd more like to enjoy. But if they really, they might be really bright and really smart and they're a neuroscientist, and they got to put in that work and effort. You just got to find the right mix with the right people, right? Some people kind of more like, no way would I want to have a job where I got to work 80, 90 hours a week. I don't need all the money in the world. When is enough enough? And for some people, enough is never enough. They can never get enough tension. They cannot have enough social clout. They cannot have enough power or money, whatever. Anyway, the problem is when you're in high vibe energy, you can offer love and encouragement to your more immature nature. It's like you put it in the back seat, but your loving nature's in the driver's seat. When shadowy people are living their life, their shadowy nature is in the driver's seat of their life, and their loving nature is sitting in the back seat. But their loving nature is their creative, inspired, more authentic, loving nature. And that's the part they kind of don't value. So they are kind of working with kind of what they have been given as a human being, is kind of the way I view it. That every human being, at a minimum, was given. It's kind of like as if you could get computer software upgrades in your life of emotional EQ and stuff like that, if you were to get out of your ego and learn lessons in life, but they didn't get the upgrades. The upgrades are sitting there available for them to have, but they don't want it. And so it is kind of operating more from ego, using their unique talents, gifts, traits, skills that they've been given in a manipulative way, unwilling to listen to their intuition, even if their intuition is screaming at them that you should not be doing this. This is selfish. This is hurtful. And I think because of it, you know, can they have a lot of success in the world? Yeah. But again, things are just things. Do you have people who are in relationship with you just because of your looks, just because of your money, just because of your social clout? I mean, we've even heard stories of people in Hollywood and rock stars and stuff like that who are famous, and they feel like they have no authentic people in their life and basically feeling unloved. Are they having to indulge someone to have those things because they made those things so important? And just like we can make things that we go indulge in, our some dreams that we wanted to have come into reality, say you abuse alcohol too much. Well, it can, you know, all the things you thought you were going to enjoy in life, living the dream, those things got such a stranglehold on people, and it kept manipulating and confusing the truth, weren't seeing the truth, wanted to stay in denial of the truth, the things that they were aligning with, or the people, or the fear, or whatever it was, kept manipulating the truth. And for some people, it's just lack of self-belief in themselves. That people wouldn't really love me. The whole thing is, loving people, you can be extremely compassionate. And when we were younger, we definitely could have gotten caught up a lot more in these things because of being such a compassionate person and wanting people to free themselves. But again, there's a big difference between maintaining balance within yourself, being a loving and encouraging person when you work together with people, treating them with respect, irregardless of some of the things. To a degree, everybody's got to use their judgment of that people are fallible human beings and they make mistakes, and we've made mistakes, and just kind of seeing that they're not seeing things clearly, and kind of knowing that maybe one day they are going to see the truth, and the worse they were, the hard, pride comes before the fall, the harder it's going to be. And there could have been some truth that they really didn't want to see. But since they're not acting in a just and fair and loving way, the more just and fair and loving people are moving on. And that's when the devil comes into our life. You could have went down that path, but you didn't want to. And that's other people in the world. You could have went with those people. You didn't want to go with them. That's interesting. They seem like really loving and encouraging people. Well, that's interesting. And so then there's always bigger fish in the sea to take advantage of someone like this. And some of these people think they're so smart. Oh, nobody could pull anything over them. But other people are hiding. I was looking for someone who just might be motivated and inspired by these things of the world and have some of these things of the world, who kind of might be wanting to prove a point to someone else, might be trying to manipulate someone else. Cool. And you don't really listen to your intuition, right? Because you're kind of think you're so smart. Perfect. That works for me. I'm going to emotionally manipulate you for my own selfish, greedy reasons. And because you could, it's like the player getting played. And for some of them thinking they were going to be able to indulge in all these things that they thought they were going to get, somehow it's maybe going to come to an end, because some of the people who are going to come get in relationship with them are other people who are just indulging them, maybe. Not to say everyone, because they're going to have other high vibe people come into their life that just might not know about people like them, might not believe in themselves, believe in their dreams. And these people come into their life too to help them. Really? Is this what you're going to stay in? Or are you going to not backstab and betray yourself and give up your dreams and listen to your intuition and believe in yourself and close out this and move on? So it's just that ultimately some people who might stay in their life, and it doesn't have to be romantic interest, it could be just some of the people that they align themselves with. Some of those people really don't have their best interests. I didn't want you to move forward with those people and love and believe in yourself. I want to manipulate and control you. I'd be in my ego if you had your dreams come into reality, because that's not what I did. And I don't want you to have that. And it could just be friends and family members. And if they're more egotistical or manipulative and they kind of manipulate people and it's all about being the boss, some of these people, they don't see the truth within themselves about why they do what they do. They lack self-insight. Other people did the work. They worked through their own, why would I stay in this job or this friendship or relationship? What have I not been seeing? Because this is not how I thought it was going to turn out. Was I not listening to my intuition? Now that I think about it, I do think my intuition kind of did tell me that we were kind of on, seemed to be quite different or something. But me and my ego, I maybe thought I could change people. And I got to get out of my ego and realize I can't change people. And from now on, when I meet people who don't love and believe in their dreams, I can treat them in a just and fair way, just like I treat anybody. I can be a loving and encouraging person in their life. Am I going to get in a more involved relationship with them? No. Because your truth is different than my truth. And I've already gotten in relationships with people whose truth was different than my truth. And I don't think you're quite... You might in your own way feel you're balanced, but I don't know that you're balanced from a place of love. It might be you're maintaining balance, or you're at a state of balance for the stage of life you're at, but I think you're still indulging in some shadowy ways of being. I've already been there and done that. So I've been illuminated to the truth. I'm going to go work with people and focus my time, energy, and effort more on people who my intuition tells me are more work together with people more authentically from love versus this seems practical and logical, and this would look victorious and successful, and we should be in a relationship. We would look like our dreams came into reality, and you should work here, even though I'm bossy and controlling and petty and envious and jealous and competitive. It's a great job, or by worldly standards, it looks like a great relationship. It's like, but then I'd have to indulge someone who's shadowy. That might be your dream, to be shadowy, and somebody loving indulges you in a relationship. That wasn't my dream, and I'm going to stand up for my dream, and you can go try to do that with someone else. And now I've realized maybe before I didn't think I deserved love, maybe I hadn't learned to love myself, maybe I was repeating a pattern, and I don't want to do it anymore. And just like some of you are doing that, other people are doing that, people you know, people you don't know. High vibe people get out of their ego. They're willing to tell people the truth. Some shadowy people, some of them might like to be in a relationship with you, but they're not willing to tell the truth. They might stay in some relationships that they would maybe like to get out of, but they're not willing, kind of too much about the ego, and then maybe being tempted by those things of the world like the rest of us are. So they might stay in a relationship that they'd really like to get out of, some of them, but they'd have to be willing to speak the truth and let the world judge away. Get out of their ego, be authentic. If I had lessons to learn, I had lessons to learn. If things weren't what it was all cracked up to be, am I willing, I don't got to slam and slander other people. I can just say, we kind of, like most people know, we all don't know what goes on behind closed doors, or just that people change over time. Relationships are difficult. We just have to say there was, you know, drifted apart over time. Whatever. Nobody also needs to know your business. But you have to be willing to stand up for what you believe in and stand in your truth. And some people also just aren't willing to ever go live their more authentic life. And they let the world manipulate them, other people in their life manipulate them, their ego, their fear. Some people no longer want to listen to their intuition because at one time they did listen to their intuition and it didn't work out. Well, they didn't learn the lesson. We are drawn and attracted to certain people because those people could come into our life to help us see some things we didn't want to see, either about ourselves or about others. They really kind of came into our life to illuminate us to the truth, or maybe just to love ourselves and value ourselves. And some people are like, no, that didn't work out. I'm not even going to listen to my intuition now. If I see someone and I'm attracted to them, I'm going to run the other way. I'd rather go get in a relationship with someone who I don't really like and that I'm not really attracted to or whatever, because that's like the danger zone. It's like, okay. Other people, that's like, we don't have it here on the table. Maybe it'll come out in the cards at the end. But that's like high vibe Scorpio versus low vibe Scorpio. High vibe Scorpio are like, I want to do the roller coaster, man. Everything won't work out, but I want to go on it. I want to experience the highs and lows of life. I'm not hopefully going to be ridiculous and put myself at risk, but emotionally, I want to do love. And I know that everything I go pursue won't work out. And I know I've kind of learned from life that I can pick myself back up, because high vibe Leo is I've learned to give myself what I wish other people would have given me, and kind of being like a good, loving, nurturing mother, father, coach voice to myself. And I'm less codependent on people, and I believe that high vibe people, I think, would believe that I think all things that happen can be used for our good purposes. It just depends on the viewpoint that we choose to. Is it going to take time to heal? Yes. Some high vibe people did that. They worked through it. They saw the truth, saw how just and fair people act in a just and fair way. Loving people act with love. People who want to work together with you cooperatively work together with you cooperatively. And the people who don't. And we need to quit staying in denial about the truth. And when we are willing to work through the confusion of it and the heartbreak of it, that's when we can get back focused on realizing our dream couldn't come into reality with them anyway. And we put an end to indulging the illusion. We let go of that dream and we start putting in work and effort to work with the people who do work together with us in that way versus the people who don't. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Leo that they might not see coming? The Lovers and the Two of Cups. Why? Because of the Four of Swords. Because you were willing to heal from past pain and heartbreak and align with your more loving nature, because love is the answer. How did you free yourself from the devil? You offered love to it, because love is the answer. But we offer love to ourselves and the situation to just see the truth that everybody's somewhere in process of learning different lessons. Some people have learned more than other people. Some people still got a lot of lessons to learn. I'm not God. God has been working with us and all these other people all their life, and they keep choosing in their free will to do what they do. So we get out of our ego about it. Even God gets out of his ego about it. He lets them have free will. It all serves a purpose. And I'm going to see the truth. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in and go put work and effort to bring that into reality. And you've aligned with your more loving, hopeful, believing nature. Being stable, the Four of Swords is Libra energy also. Maintaining balance within yourself, loving yourself, working together with other people in love, being authentic, being loving and encouraging and supportive. Yeah, and I think other people are going to see that, the truth of who you are. And, again, there'll be more shadowy people who think, hey, I want to be the next person to indulge in a relationship with you. And you will get to know people, to get clearer as you get to know them about what their truth is. And if you think they are people who have done this work within themselves and they're not in more shadowy energy, you will move forward and continue to move forward with the people in your life who keep maintaining that balance within themselves to maintain that type of balance in a relationship with you. And the people that you get to know who you come to realize kind of are still indulging in some more shadowy ways of being or viewing relationships, you're going to wish those people peace and, kind of keep your distance from them. Sometimes you have to work with them or they're in your community or whatever. But it's like, I'm not going to invest more time and energy in you than I have to. I've already seen that I don't enjoy people who choose to act like that. And I'm going to invest in the people who do. And other people have been in relationships with people who are kind of more immature or shadowy. And some of them don't want to be in a relationship with people like that anymore either. You're speaking your truth, and the people who take action, the kings can talk about taking action. You are kind of walking the talk, and other people create the illusion they walk the talk. And the people in your life who walk the talk are people you're going to keep moving forward with, and the people who don't, well, they can do whatever they want. And the devil could be mad that you completed a cycle and are having a new beginning, and you're not willing to indulge them anymore. Because shadowy people will act stubborn, prideful, bossy, controlling, in order to try to manipulate loving people. I don't think you'll keep loving and believing in yourself. I know you love me. I know you wanted this dream to come into reality. I think you will give up on that and you will come back and do the relationship the way I want. And some people are like, nope. And every day you act like that is another day I see the truth that you're not someone I want to be in a relationship with. And then they're like, shit, they're not going to indulge me. It's like, no. And then they're like, damn, I gotta go try to find someone else to go see who looks stuck. Who do I think would be one that I could tempt with my looks or my charm or whatever, who I think maybe won't listen to their intuition. And I'll hide the fact about why that other relationship ended. And I'll try to manipulate them to indulge me in this worldly view of life. What's coming up for the more shadowy people that they don't see coming? The Ten of Cups. Why? Because of the Nine of Swords. Well, I think when people are shadowy, they're not being authentic. I think they're always stressed out because they're always trying to manipulate people to get them to do what they want. And they don't want, it's kind of like, I don't mind you healing or growing or maturing yourself somewhat, if that would be good for the relationship or me or my ego or my image or my status. But I'm always really stressed out. And again, the tens can talk about completing a cycle, and they might be in a relationship right now with someone who in a lot of ways, at the Nine of Cups, really could kind of seem to be a good mix for them. But it's just if they offer themselves that cup of love and they start to listen to their more intuitive, creative, inspired nature, this relationship will come to an end. And that's the problem when more shadowy people try to get in a relationship with someone who's more hopeful and believing. Because that person just might need to be, these people can act very loving and nurturing, supportive, just like the other loving, nurturing people. It's just that they don't really want them to change because they don't change. Because then they'd have to let go of some of these things, and they don't want to let go of any of those things. And they're always afraid that other people are going to close out a cycle or become more independent of things that they don't want to become independent of, or just a way of living life or viewing relationships. Or whenever they're in a relationship, it's always so much up in their head about, high vibe energy flows. You just kind of get along. It's not all stressful and whatever. But since they're not really authentically who they say they are, it's always trying to wear this mask and present themselves this certain way. Like they could be much more immature. They could be much more angry. They could be much more wanting to control people or yell at people or whatever than they do. And they have to keep tempering themselves the whole time because they're not really living their authentic truth. And then they could always be stressed out that people will see the truth, that they're really just more about themselves. And then other people will quit, just won't be caught up in the illusion of who they are anymore. They won't keep indulging them. And if they're very codependent people and they're indulging someone, they're always afraid that the person they're indulging to give them maybe these things of the world, that what if that person were to close out a cycle with them and wanted to get in a relationship with someone else, they're very codependent on them. And they could always be kind of fearful of that. The other way I read this is that they probably do have some loving people in their life who offer them love and encouragement to free themselves from some ways of being or toxic influences in their life to move forward with them. And they're always going to have some high vibe people that are like, I'm done. I have been in two minds. The tens can talk about ending this. And I've kind of went back and forth. I kind of feel like I'd be stuck if I stay in it. I kind of don't want to listen to my intuition because I could love you. There could be a lot of things about it I like. But my intuition is kind of telling me that the Three of Wands, kind of like the Aquarius star card, can be about our dreams. I don't think my dream's going to come into reality. I don't think anything's ever going to change here. And eventually those people from the 2 to the 9 is working through the 7 of Swords, which is also Aquarius energy. Kind of like, I haven't wanted to see the truth because I really wanted this dream to come into reality. But as more time goes by, I can't stay in denial of the truth anymore. And if I want my dreams to come into reality, to be in a more just and fair and authentic and cooperative type relationship, I have to offer myself that cup of love harness my Pisces energy differently. Instead of staying stuck, I need to quit offering love to this and offer love to face my fears, to let go of this dream, to go have a new beginning. And they're going to have some people do that in their life, whether it's friends or family members. And they're going to be in their ego that some people saw the truth and aren't willing to indulge them anymore. And then they'll probably go look for someone else to get in a relationship with. And they'll maybe go look for other people who are either more immature, more codependent, more fearful, feel stuck, want to be in a relationship, aren't in a relationship, one relationship ended, and they'll go see if they can manipulate that person. And that could be you people. So, regardless of who you meet in your life, maintain balance, get to know people, listen to your intuition, speak your truth about some situations you've went through so they know what kind of bullshit. You don't gotta say it in a harsh way. Just like, yeah, they were kind of bossy and controlling, or pretty much all about themselves, it seemed like, or seemed to be more about the ego and the image than love. And some people will be like, oh, and they'll realize they need to go, and will heal from that. It's like another one bit the dust, because they kind of want to be in these more shadowy type relationships, and I don't want to do that. So they can go get in that relationship with someone else, and they might get in a relationship with someone else eventually who also likes to live maybe more from their mind than their heart. That last sword of truth could be love, and I don't want to do love. I don't want to take more inspired action in my life. I don't want to have to quit indulging myself in my more worldly, egoic nature, to choose love, to be more just and fair and balanced, or open to love. And just might be in a relationship with some people they might feel kind of stuck with, because if everybody is using their emotions and their sexuality and all those things just to keep manipulating people, and if they're not really in it for love, anybody could leave any time because they weren't in it for love anyway. If you want to build a solid foundation, it has to be on truth and love. So there you go, Leo. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.